Hey guys, welcome back to another 3D printing video. And we got a pretty special video today because we have the Weedo F152S industrial 3D printer. So this printer has quite a few things to offer, like a fully enclosed printing area, which makes it great for printing ABS or even nylon. I am excited to see what this printer has to offer. So in this video, we're gonna unbox it, set it up, and do some prints. All right, so let's get started. All right guys, so the Weedo comes in this box here, and it's quite a large box and also quite heavy, weighing at 64 pounds. So here we have the model number F152S, the weight without the packaging and then with the packaging, and the dimensions. So on the top here we have a sticker that says precision instrument inside, please handle carefully. And we do have a team lift stickers, so yeah, when you get those you know it's heavy. All right, let's see what we got in here. As we open the box, we have a few pieces of material here, and one of them is how to contact the company, and the other one is a quick start guide of how to get started. And just quickly looking over this, guys, it doesn't appear to be that we will be assembling much of anything, so that's a huge plus. And that probably explains why this box is so large. Okay, so the first top, we got a really nice cardboard layer. And here we can see how well this thing is packed. Foam all around it and more of that cardboard stuff around that. So very well packed. Now looking at this does look like the top. I can see a handle lid here. So I guess there's a few ways you can take this out. We can take it out upside down, or you could start from the bottom end and then, you know, pull it back up. So I don't think it really matters. So I'm gonna flip the box on its side and we're gonna pull the box off of it. Going up. All right, so we can see here that this is the bottom of it right here, and it is covered in this plastic bag. All right, and this is what it looks like out of the box. So right off the bat, guys, you can see that this is an enclosed design, where it's quite important if you're printing ABS, even PETG, and definitely nylon, that you have an enclosure like this. So the whole printer has like this frosty vibe to it, so I'm thinking there is a protective layer on all of this stuff, and it is made out of some kind of plastic type material, but it looks like a very durable kind. So let's go ahead and unstick these doors. And there's actually a door on each side around, including the top also. All right, so inside we have some foam, and it looks like some more things in there. So we're gonna need to figure out how to wiggle that stuff out of there. All right, so it looks like the foam comes out quite easily. So we have a couple boxes inside. One of them looks like some filament, and it is white PLA, and it's a whole kilogram, so that's really nice. We have another box with all of our accessories, and we're gonna go through all that in just a second. All right, so we got more foam in there, and I can't really take this foam out, and the reason for that is because they have a few braces up here, and let me show you guys what I'm talking about. So here we are on the top of the printer, and if you look right here, there's two little arms that go down, and they hold the hot end assembly here, so it's not moving around. So it can't really move far this way, and it definitely can't move back and forth. So what we need to do is we need to take out those two screws, and then these two plastic arms will cut everything loose, and then we'll be able to get that foam out. So I'm really glad to see that they took the extra time to secure this thing so it doesn't break during shipping. All right, since we need some tools, let's go ahead and check out what's in this box. So the first thing looks like a clear PTFE tubing. I guess that's what that is. So we get a couple cords, a USB connector from the printer to the computer, the power cord, also a pretty large spatula. It does look like it's sharpened. That's nice. A baggie of different items. We get a little retractable blade knife, some grease for lubrication. So that's really nice that they include this. An 8 gig micro SD card, and also a USB adapter. So if you don't have a micro SD port, you can use this adapter. An open-ended wrench, 7mm and 5.5, and a few Allen wrenches. So we got a few more things in here. It looks like part of a spool holder. And it is, and it's actually a very nice one. It's metal, and it does have these plastic washers here. It's pretty nice that it's metal though. Also, we get a glue stick, a shorter tube that's also clear. And here we have something else. And I'm guessing this is maybe part of spool holder. And that's what it appears to be. So we have to, looks like, build the spool holder, and it's all metal parts. And here's the hardware to it. All right, and the last pieces are these sheets of sticky tape paper. I guess this is kind of like a Captain tape or however you call it, but you print on this. So this paper helps the print stick. And then when you're done printing, you can still pull it off. And these look like they're extra pieces. All right, so once we unscrew those two bolts, these parts should just come right off. And they do without an issue. But that's definitely very important because this kind of design and this system can have some potential damage during rough shipping. All right, so now we should be able to move this out of the way and our foam should be able to come out much easier now. Actually very easy, just slides right out. And yeah guys, they use plenty of foam here, so everything is very well protected. All right, so everything looks good. If we go down, we can see that we have more zip ties here that we need to cut, and here also around the bed. And so the way this system works is the bed is stationary and just goes up and down, and then all your moving parts are on the top. So you have the x-axis here with a belt to the hot end. And then you have the y-axis right here, and it actually has a little belt that goes to another pulley up there. And then there's a rod that goes all the way across, and then there's two more belts going to these anchor points here that make it move back and forth. You can kind of see the belts over there in the corner. All right, so let's go ahead and cut all these straps here. So I'm just pushing it up and it's going quite easily actually. And we can get this piece of styrofoam out. So far everything is quite straightforward and just mostly unpacking it. Now what I'm noticing is that all of these panels everywhere have a layer of film on it. So if I just start peeling here on the top, maybe you guys can see, but there's a layer everywhere. And it's also on these doors, that's why they look so frosty, because they have a layer of film on them on both sides. And I definitely appreciate that it's on there, but the part that I don't appreciate is that it's underneath all the brackets and bolts. So taking it off could get messy, and I'm guessing this is why they included this knife, so you can kind of, you know, cut around everything if you need to. So even though you don't have to assemble anything, you still have to play around with this film. Of course, if you want to take it off, and I think you should, because it definitely seems to look so much more better with it off. So once I get all of this film off of the printer, we're going to take a closer look at the start guide and also kind of take an overview of the build of this printer. All right, so after about 30 to 40 minutes, all of the plastic coating is off and it's looking really, really nice. Now, do I wish they take it off at the factory? Yes, but it does get preserved better this way. Just so you guys know what it takes to get it this nice is you have to unscrew every bolt. But the good part is you don't have to unscrew it all the way. So you just unscrew it about halfway and then it comes right off, and then screw it back in. But the doors you do have to take off because, you know, it's all underneath the... All right, so for the next part, let's see if we can build the spool holder. So it looks like this frame goes like this, or maybe like this. So we're gonna grab our little provided bolt. There we go, so one side's on. Now I'll do the other side. And just like that, our spool holder's built. So we just got 4 bolts, 2 on each side, and we got ourselves a spool holder. So now what we gotta do is install this guy here, and I think that just goes right on top. Not sure exactly how these nuts are supposed to go, but I'm guessing something like this. So this comes out quite easy. We're gonna put a spool through it, and put it in the spool holder. Very nice, and this is all metal. All right, so let's look at our instructions. So here it just tells us how to get started, taking things out of the box, taking the foam out, cutting loose the zip ties, and then all we gotta do is just connect our little hoses up, and that's pretty much it. So one of them's gonna go over here on the side. There's a little coupling here, and that's gonna be the shorter one. So we're just gonna plug it in there, and that's gonna help feed the filament from the spool holder up into the inside of the machine. Since this thing is enclosed, it has to have some kind of pass-through. Let's open this top door. So it actually holds itself pretty well. And here we can see the other side of the pass-through. And this is kind of an interesting contraption because it looks like there's another port for something, but it doesn't really do anything, I think, in this printer. Let's take our longer one and we'll plug that end into here. So the hot end assembly is everything. It's also the extruder. So it is a direct drive extruder. So the other side just simply will click into here. And the cool thing about this tube here is that it's made where you can still close the door, and it's just going to be riding in there. So if I move the hot end around, you can kind of see just bends around in there as it needs to. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So yeah guys, that's pretty much the extent of unboxing it and setting it up. It's all pretty much fully built and ready to go. So I guess the biggest job would be taking off the protective screen off of all of this acrylic parts. And I think this is what it is. This is all acrylic. So before we power it up, let's go ahead and take a look real quick at all the features. So as you guys saw, we have doors on every corner. So we have one on top, one in the front, one on each side. So seeing inside the printer is very, very easy considering it is enclosed. So a nice little detail on the doors is that they have magnets right here and they magnetize. And so they stick really nice. So we got acrylic panel on the side, the front, and this other side. The back is actually all metal. And all the frame pieces inside are all metal too. The machine is very sturdy and very tough. The acrylic parts of it, it's just the face or the box part that keeps all the heat in. So we'll start here on the top. This is the hot end assembly. We have the extruder inside. We have a dedicated blower fan right there for the parts cooling. And it also looks like it has a probe for the level sensing or the bed leveling. Here's a little release arm when you feed the filament in. And I like how they got this main plug here, and it's a ribbon cable and it's quite robust, so it's not going to, you know, wear out or have any issues, looks like. So all the axes run on these rod rails. So the X has a dual rod. And then we got a rod for the Y and another one on this side. So it feels very smooth and nice. So we have the Y motor in that corner, the X axis motor here. So we got two larger rods for the Z axis on the bed, and we have a lead screw through the middle. And by the way, there is a fan right there to circulate air, and there looks like a little filter behind that. So here we have the bed with a glass on top and then aluminum, and then we have this steel frame. So there are some springs on all four corners, but as you can see guys, they're not really made for adjusting. Only adjusting it, you know, whenever it absolutely needs it. And then the sensor will take over all the micro adjusting. So technically this should be very hassle-free as far as bed leveling is concerned. So the bed is heated, and you're definitely going to need a heated bed if you're going to be printing PETG and ABS especially. And there guys, we can see our stepper motor for the Z-axis, and it's underneath, and we got this wire coming out to the bed. And the whole bottom is a metal sheet. So in the front of the printer, we have a power button, and then we have this really nice large touchscreen LCD for navigation and information. And if we go to the left of the printer, we have a little hole here, and that is the switch for the voltage. So you want to make sure that yours is switched to the right voltage. Mine is already on 115. And that's it on this side. Now on the right side, we have input ports, which is our micro SD card and our USB connection. And as we go up, we can see this is where our filament goes in. And so this is what the back of the printer looks like. It's all metal. Here's our fan, and there's that little filter there, or actually it looks like it has a couple filters, or at least a couple different layers. And that's pretty much it. It's all pretty clean. We do have a sticker here. Tells us a little more about the printer. F152S, takes 5 amps. That's the size of it and the company name. So on the very bottom, we have the power switch, and it is fused. And that's where we're going to plug in our cable. Let's see if we can pop this little cover off here. Okay, it does come off. Looks like a dual type filter. And we can see our fan right there. All right, so lifting the printer up a bit, you can see what's on the bottom. So there's some cooling fins there. And we got nice rubber feet all the way around. So I went ahead and flipped the printer over and took the cover off underneath, though we can see a little better what's going on. So we have the power supply, and it is a Meanwell one. So it's got a high quality power supply. That's really nice to see. It is 24 volt, 8.8 amp. And I think it's a 200 watts, what it's rated for, looks like. So here we have a circuit that looks like is power for some fans, and it looks like a relay maybe for the heated bed. But in any case, it does look like it does multiple things here. So we got that. Then we have like all these wires that are going through toroids. Looks like some ferrite toroids. So that's quite interesting here. And then we have the motherboard here. And it looks like all the stepper drivers are synced. So I'm not sure on the name on this thing, but it does look like one of those higher end ones that are the high bit. And then up here we have the Wi-Fi adapter and a little antenna that goes out to the front over there, I guess, so you can have a better reception because this is all metal here. And here's our Z-axis stepper motor. So yeah, everything looks built very nicely and well with high quality components. All right guys, now that we looked over the machine, let's go ahead and power it on. I'm gonna hit the switch in the back and nothing happens because we need to hit this power button right here. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so it all lights up. Get a logo, and it looks like we have a little quick guide start here. And also guys, there's a really nice light that came on inside the case of the printer. It's lit on the inside very nicely. Oh, very cool. So let's see what this is all about. So it's like a guide, I guess. So I guess it's telling us all the basics of what to check for. Okay, so here it shows this little diagram of where the feed port is, the extruder handle, the proximity sensor, and the nozzle. Good information if you don't know what these things are. And here it tells you how to load the filament. All right. Okay, so here it's asking us what kind of filament type we're doing. Let's just say PLA. Okay, so I guess it wants us to insert the filament right now. So I guess let's grab our filament. It's got some nice white PLA. So we're going to put it in our spool holder. Well, actually, I think I put it backwards. I should have it unwind from the bottom. Flip that around. There we go. So it's going to feed up from the bottom of the spool to this clear holes here. So yeah, we're just going to feed it through, and it's going to come out the other end. Go ahead and open this door. So we will need to push this extruder lever down while putting the filament in. Now, it might be easier to just disconnect it from here and then kind of grab it, push on the extruder arm, and then insert it in there. And you can see when it grabs quite good. So you can go ahead and push it all the way down through, and if you do that, eventually it'll seep out of the nozzle. So now we can put this little tube back on, and that's it. So here the tutorial continues with inserting the SD card and choosing the file, but let's go ahead and quit. Okay, and as we do that, it goes to the main menu. So we have a really nice laid out menu here. We have the nozzle temperature there, the bed temperature, and no Wi-Fi connection, I guess that's what that is. Then we have a print button, settings button, help button, and maintenance. So when you click on the print, you're going to be reading the files off of the SD card, which is nothing there right now. Settings is going to be where you, I guess, set up your Wi-Fi and choose language, things like that. The Wi-Fi, we can set it up here if we wanted to. Let's go back. So here we have a next button, so there's more options. Auto power off, and I guess this is like, if it's sitting there doing nothing, it'll turn itself off. Well, that's a good feature. So it looks like we also have a run out sensor, and you can turn that on and off. Well, that's nice. It must be built into the extruder. And then here we have post. I'm not sure what that means, but it's on. Power save mode and restore to default. Let's go to maintenance. So we can feed filament, retract filament, preheat, move our axes, bed level, and then Z offset. And then here we have proximity height, and I guess that's the adjustment for the sensor. And then motors off, so if you want to release the stepper motors, it's in here also. And then we have a help. We have the quick guide, frequently asked questions, and error diagnostics. Let's see. Okay, regular questions and some answers. Oh, very cool. Alright, so really nice and straightforward. So let's go to maintenance and feed some filament, push some through. PLA. So it's going to heat up again like it did earlier. So this green bar here is where the nozzle's at before it gets to 210. And as you guys can see, it heats up quite quick. So as it's heating up, we can see we got some droopage coming out. So it looks like they tested this printer with a red filament. And there we go, the extruder's on. And there goes our white filament. So it's just dumping it out right now, so we need to go ahead and stop it and go back. Alright, so everything's looking good. Now the next thing I really want to do is check, make sure all of our axes work. So I guess we will go to maintenance, jog mode, and click return home, and it starts moving. So the bed's going all the way down. Remember, there is a switch down there. Alright, so now the X switched, and now the Y. And so here you can individually move everything also. Okay, so let's go ahead and preheat our bed and nozzle. I don't think I want the bed that high. 60 should be plenty. Push OK, and it's going to start preheating. So while it's preheating, let's go ahead and insert our micro SD card. And that goes here on the side, as we saw earlier. And it looks like it does go upside down. Alright, so all this stuff is preheating. Let's go back and click on print, and here we have some test files. So I guess let's go ahead and start with this 20mm box. Alright, and there it goes. So it's doing its thing. Now for some reason I totally forgot that we probably should have checked the bed leveling, but let's see what happens. Let's see if this thing will automatically do that, or is it preset to something. Okay, so it looks like it knows what it's doing. Okay, so it's taking measurements. Okay, so it's waiting now to get completely heated. Alright, and there it goes. Okay, so it looks like it's purging. And the level looks just right, actually. We're pretty close. Might need to go down just a fuzz, but not too bad. I'm not sure if you guys can see anything. The light is way too bright. But it's building a raft. So right off the bat, it just prints. So as it's printing, let's take a look at what we have here. So we have the status, which says printing here. So that's the file name, the nozzle temperature, the time that passed, the speed at what it's printing, the bed temperature, time remaining. So it's got about 21 minutes left. And then we got a bar here of completed, which is 13% already. So we can quit, we can pause the print, and we have some more settings. And if we click on that, filament operation, temperature, speed, out to power off, run out sensor, save and off also. I guess you can stop your print by saving it, and then you can turn on your printer later on and come back to it. I guess that's what that's for. So let's see what this is. Okay, I don't know what that was, but temperature. So here we can set the temperature and the speed. So yeah, it's got a lot of information and some good features on the settings. All right, so I'm just gonna let this thing print, and we'll see what comes out. By the way, guys, all that light, it's coming out from the front on the top. Right under here, it's kind of pointing down. A pretty good light for sure. Very bright. Alright guys, so we finished printing, and about a minute later or so, it just shut itself off. So I guess that's the auto shut off feature. That's actually a really nice feature, because a lot of times you're away and, you know, the printer just keeps on running and running, waiting for you to come back. But like this, it just shuts itself off, and so it's not sitting there on the whole time. Alright, let's see what happened to this cube here. So let's grab our nice and large spatula. And here's the cool part, guys. We can go from the side. We got the side door open. And I can stick my hand through there. So that makes it really convenient. Actually popped off quite easily. So it looks like just a little block on a raft, and the raft actually pops off quite easy. Very nice. So far it's looking really good. I don't know if you guys can see, but there is a little bit of ringing here, very minor. Overall it's looking very, very nice actually, and the top is quite impressive too. Very smooth. All right, well, it looks really promising, and let's go ahead and print some more stuff. Power it back on. So it's actually doing a check on everything. Okay, I guess it has a self-diagnostics built in. So I'm gonna click on print. So let's print this test thin 10, see what that's all about. So this print looks to be a bit longer at 1 hour and 50 minutes. Alright guys, so I printed some more things off of that micro SD card, and this is one of the items here, which is a little box. The thing that impresses me with this thing is that the layers are actually sitting very nicely. Like they're even. There's not anything too weird going on there. So there is a little bit of ringing. Kind of see it maybe, the reflection. So the other print that was on there was this bearing, and I haven't took it off the raft yet. So the raft is coming off, but it's not coming off clean. Now let's see if this thing will spin right off the bat. And look at that, it does. So that's a great indication that we have very good tolerances. So the printer is able to print fine details, but if you guys look at the wall is practically perfect. There's a little logo here. There is some ghosting or vibrations after the logo, so I'm not sure what that's about. So we'll have to see what kind of prints we get. Overall, so far the printer is looking very good. And the last thing that was on the card that we printed here, a fish bone. It's also in a raft. Everything is on a raft. Me personally, I don't really like to print on rafts. But, you know, it does guarantee that your print will stick every time, pretty much so. So yeah, this little fishy here turned out really good. A lot of tolerances, and I'm not sure if that's just the model or this printer is very good at laying down the layers. So precision is definitely required, and looks like it has no issue with that whatsoever. All right, so I'm really happy of how it's doing so far. I think I'm gonna slice some of my own models, print those out, and we'll take a closer look at those. So here we are at the computer, and this is what the micro SD card has on it that was included with the printer. So it looks like here we have the test files, and we printed some of these. So we also have some slicing programs, which is Cura 4.3, and these are designed just for this printer. So this one's for Mac OS. This is for Windows, and this is their own slicing software, which is called Wiibuilder, and it's also for Windows. And here on the bottom we can see we have a PDF of the user manual on this printer, so if you want to go over it, it might be very useful. It's quite nicely detailed and shows all the parameters and what things do, and you know how to get started with the slicers and things like that. So a lot of good information here on how to slice prints, so that's really nice. So since I'm using a Mac and I love using Cura, we're going to be using this file .dmg. So as simple as clicking on it and then dragging it over to the applications, and it will install. And if I go to the applications tab, we can see it right here, 4.3, and it'll say Weedo. So let's go ahead and open it up. And this is what it'll look like. So I already have the printer in here, but when you first open it, it'll ask you what you want to add, and it'll look like this. And it's going to be under the non-network printers. So you're just going to click on the Weedo, and here you can see all the different models. Essentially, this is just a modified version of Cura to the Weedo brand. So here we can see we have the F152S, and this is what I chose. And we'll click add. I guess I meant to say the 152S. In any case, here you can see the build volume. So if you want to get familiar on how to use Cura, there's quite a few videos out there, but it's quite straightforward. So you're just going to throw a model in there, click on it to select it, and then here you have your main options. You can move it around, that's done by these arrows, or you can just grab the model, scale it, rotate it, mirror it. Here you can control the mesh. So you got quite a few options. Now the more important ones are going to be up here. If we click on that, you're going to see a panel here that comes up. Let's go ahead and zoom in into this model just a little bit. But yeah, you can see here all of the parameters that I used for this model. And these are basic parameters that I use for every printer. I have a lot of people always ask me what profile I use. It's usually very basic things. I don't depend on the software as much as I expect the printer to produce quality prints with its hardware. So here I have the wall count. I always have 3. It just makes a lot better walls. Top layer and bottom layer, I add that to 6. Our infills at 20%. Our temperatures are quite basic. Well, usually initial temperature is a little higher. Here's the retraction distance. It was actually 1.5. I changed it to 2.5 millimeters, and that's to reduce stringing. Print speed, I always use 50 and 25 on the walls, so the walls are slowed down. So pretty much everything else is basic. Fan speed's usually at 100, and I usually like to print straight to the bed with 3 skirts around the print. So it basically purges around the print and then prints. All of this is experimental, and you can use whatever you want, obviously. And here we have the spiralized mode. If you click that, you're going to print just one layer to the top. So once you're done playing with all these settings, you're just going to click on this big slice button right here, and it's going to slice the model. And after it slices, you can click on preview, and you can actually see all the layers here, all one by one, and you can play them back right here. So you can see here we're on layer 139, and this is how the nozzle will move on that layer. And here we can save the file. Right now it's set to the card itself. Well, we can save it straight to the computer by doing that. And then we can save it where we want. So yeah, as simple as that. That's how you install the Cura slicer for the Weedo printer. So as I was printing the models, I ended up ripping this tape, which also made me realize this printer has another feature, which the bed is actually removable. So there's 2 little tabs here on the side that if you just pull it up, it comes right up. And there's 4 magnets in each corner, and then we have like a steel layer underneath the bed that magnetizes to those magnets. So even though this is a glass bed, it does have a layer of steel on the very bottom. So yeah, I ended up ripping this top coat by accident by trying to pull the model off, and I ripped off. So let's go ahead and take it off and see what's underneath. Kind of curious because it looks like it's a really nice quality darkened glass, which looks really nice actually. So this paper type like top layer actually works very well in printing, unless you damage it like I did. But I did want to take it off to see what we have underneath. And it is literally a piece of glass, just a smooth glass. And I love how it's darkened, very nice looking. So I'm going to set this back in there. And the bed is wider than it is deeper. And so now we can print straight to glass. Now by doing that, you probably will need just a little bit of glue. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, but for security reasons, you know, you don't want your print to just pop off. So I just add just a tiny bit of glue, and that'll guarantee the model sticking. But pretty cool that it does come off. Alright guys, so as you can see, I printed quite a few models and they all turned out quite good. Now there is a few things to point out that I've noticed, and let's go ahead and go straight to our calibration cube here. So this is printed in silky silver PLA, and you guys can see how much ghosting and vibrations there are. It's quite a bit of it, looks like, and this is the y-axis, and then the x-axis, you know, has pretty severe ghosting there. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on. I'm thinking maybe the belts are a little bit over tight, but they seem fine and everything seems to be pretty smooth. So in any case, that's what I'm getting out of the X and Y. And we can see here on the walls a little better. This is the Y and then the X wall. So the X is a little better than the Y. So this is obviously exaggerated because this is silky silver, but the top is looking excellent. And the bottom is also great because it's printing straight on glass. So yeah, there is some vibrations. If we look at this little piggy here, we can see what happens when it prints, you know, curves like this. And it's actually not as bad as on the calibration cube. Vibration still there, you can see it's a lot less. And this is the same filament. So, but as far as detail, it's spot on, and there's no stringing issues, as you can see here. And all the prints that I sliced were at 0.16 layer height, as you guys saw there in the slicer. So for the next part, I want to get to our benchies here. So the benchies are actually all different. So the blue one you see there, this was included with the printer, so it was pre-sliced. It was on the SD card, and you guys can see it printed out really nice. So you can still see those vibrations, but because this is not a shiny filament, it hides them a lot more, and you know, they're not as pronounced, but they do appear around certain areas. But yeah, other than that, the benchy is looking really good, very solid, and very presentable, obviously. So a good print overall. Now the next benchy we got was sliced by me, and this is in bronze silky PLA. It's got a really nice shine to it, and here we can see that it turned out even better, especially on the walls and stuff. So the printer is very accurate when it comes to putting the layers down. No issues there. And our bottoms look great, obviously. So solid printer, and you can see how much the filament makes a difference because our vibrations are almost eliminated or not as noticeable compared to the other filaments. So depending on what kind of filament you're going to use and what you're printing, it might show up less and more. And also I noticed, because this is one of the later models I printed, it seems to kind of go away after a while. So maybe this printer is breaking in a little bit, so it might improve over time. Now the whole point of having a printer like this is it's enclosed. Even though I don't have much experience of printing other filaments, I did want to try a couple things. So the green benchy you see here is TPU, and this clear one is PETG. So let's start with the PETG, and we can see right off the bat that there is a little bit of stringing. Now that's probably from my inexperience in, you know, slicing and whatnot else, this kind of filament. But I printed this at 245 on the nozzle and 80 on the bed, and it stuck very good and pretty much had no issues. I think one corner here lifted just a bit, but other than that, it printed perfectly. Now the stringing that you see, it actually comes off quite easy. If you just rub it, it pops right off. So it's not like it's really heavy or anything, so it's easily cleanable. And the walls are quite nice, and everything is very respectable. And PETG is a much more harder material. So for printing actual usable mechanical parts, it would make more sense with this kind of filament. So yeah, I'm quite happy how this turned out. Now the next benchy we got here is TPU, and this is definitely a more fragile kind of printing because not only do you have to print slower, you have to have an extruder that can handle TPU because it's a flexible filament. And you guys can see that it turned out really nice for a flexible filament. And the reason we know this is flexible is because we can flex it. We can bend it, and it doesn't break. So showing this benchy is not the best for flexible filament because it's kind of a boxy, strong build. But you guys can see the whole benchy can bend quite easily. And the printer had no issues whatsoever printing this. Now there's a little bit of stringing, but it's again very light, and I might have to play around with the retraction settings a little better so there's less stringy. But as far as the finish on the layers, it's practically perfect. So we do have this astronaut, which I do like printing, and this is just in PLA here. And again, you can see around this logo here that there is a little bit of vibrations there. But other than that, you guys can see the layers are sitting very nicely, practically perfect. Overall, a very solid print with nothing to complain about as far as print quality. So naturally, I wanted to also do some spiralized mode, and I did this vase here, and as you guys can see, it turned out very nice. It has a very clean, uniform layer bonding. And on the top here, you guys can see how nice and clean that is. So very impressive. There is a very slight vibration noise in the print, but it's not very noticeable. And I noticed that whenever it's doing circles, it's a lot cleaner than when it's doing a straight axis like an X or a Y. So this is how the vase turned out, and I'm quite pleased with it. Very nice. All right, so for the last but not least, I printed this box here, and this is pretty much the full volume of the printer. It could go a little bit wider and deeper, and even a couple millimeters higher, but pretty much this is the size volume of what this printer can print. And this is printed in spiralized mode, and we're using the bronze silky filament, so it's really shiny. Patterns that you see in the walls is actually warping from the filament. Because this is one layer, it's ultra thin. And so what this shows is how good the printer puts the layers down and bonds them together, because this is one layer. And you guys can see it's quite strong. Now obviously if I pull it harder, it'll break. It's quite impressive that it can print a box like this in one layer this large. And naturally our bottom is looking pretty nice, and it was straight on glass. So there is these 4 holes, and these were supposed to be feet. Because I spiralized this box, it kind of made holes here. But if we look at the corners here, look how nice they are. Now you are going to see, you know, this pattern in the print, and that's just the vibrations coming off of the stepper motor into the print itself. But yeah, overall very impressed, and quite exciting that we can print something like this on this printer. So overall guys, you can see this is a nice printer, and I feel like it's aimed more towards someone that will be using more of the exotic materials like PETG, TPU, ABS, nylon for sure, because having this enclosure is very necessary for some of these filaments. And that's this printer's main focus, is that it's able to provide an enclosure for those special filaments. But at the same time, this thing has all the modern features. It does have filament detection, and it must be inside of the extruder assembly because it does work, and naturally it has power outage, so if you lose power, you know, you can continue to print. The hassle-free bed leveling seems to work excellent too. Initially you might need to make that first adjustment, and then it'll be perfect every time. A very nice touch on the removable bed. Great access with all these doors everywhere, and not to mention a large screen with a great UI. So yeah, for the right person, this could be the perfect printer. If you're into printing more high-end filaments, this will definitely do the trick. So overall, this printer is put together very well. It has high quality components all around and geared towards more of the professional end. So if you're interested in a printer like this, I'm going to leave some links in the description. Check that out. And if you enjoyed this video, then hit that like button. And if you want to see more 3D printing videos, I have a playlist, and there'll be a lot more to come. So if you're not subscribed, then hit that subscribe button. And as always guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.